is Overcast. I'm super excited. We're down here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I have my good friend and a mentor. Let's just put it out that way. A mentor, Stevie B. He's very well known in South Florida, and he's an all around great dude. And just super excited to have him here with us today. And for those that don't know Stevie B is owner of JC Recovery Center.
Yeah.
And you want to describe that or how it started or?
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Mike. First of all, the honor is mutual. You know, the Bible says that iron sharpens iron, so we don't do this alone. And that's what recovery is all about. It's a community where we come together and support each other to be our best. And obviously drugs and alcohol or gambling or whatever we're trapped into in the past, that's not our best. So JC Recovery is a faith-based recovery center where we combine the Bible, 12 steps, holistic practices, positive teachings, and hopefully people will come there and they'll leave the things that are killing them behind, and we'll teach them a new way, enjoyable way, fun way to be in their life without the things that are killing them. And it's in Hollywood, Florida, JC Recovery Center. And we came up with the idea because I was dropping guys off, Mike, in different houses, different halfway houses. And every time I would drop them off there and then I would go speak there, the people would like what I had to say. But then when I would drop them back, I realized a lot of the places I was dropping them back to were unhealthy environments. I mean, of course, there were some great ones, but there was a lot of unhealthy environment recovery houses out there. And a couple friends of mine, and we said, why don't we start our own faith-based recovery house? And that was how we started. We started with JC Recovery House before we became a treatment center. And that was the first faith-based recovery house that I know of other than Salvation Army or Calvary House down here in South Florida. And they said, you can't do it. They said, you're not going to be able to do it faith-based because a lot of people don't want faith-based. But what we found out, Mike, is a lot of people don't want their lives the way that they are more than their contempt to ideas of faith-based. So they just want to change. And if you present them with the truth that God will change them, which is true every time, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through God who strengthens me, right? And we present that truth, and your life is not working. Most of the time you come to a recovery house, your life is not working. And when we show them a working life, a lot of times that's the bridge. At least it was for me.
So what if somebody just was like, "Oh my God, that sounds amazing," and they have a loved one that they want to get into?
Yeah, thank you so much.
How would they get in there?
That's very kind of you, Mike. That well, there's a 1-800 number. There's the website JC Recovery Center. Jesus Christ Recovery Center.com. And when I say that, people say, "Oh, is it only for Christians?" No, it's not only for Christians. And it wasn't even named after Jesus Christ. It was named after my grandfather, John Cascone, an Italian from Brooklyn. But it also happens to be my Lord and Savior. And we have right now in the center, to our Jewish friends, is also Rosh Hashanah, so happy Rosh Hashanah. We have Jewish people, Muslim people, Buddhist people, non-faith people, Christian people, all come there. But they're all looking for the same thing that you and I were looking for, Mike, change. Change because they don't know really how to get out of their way, even though if they've done the 12 steps before. They very rarely have done them with everything that we recommend to combine, the stuff that you and I do.
Right. And that's what I love, where you're bringing people from other faiths in to the unity, because that's something that we as a recovery community have lost, and as a nation we've lost. The state of affairs of the nation is a little crazy right now.
And we don't have to be afraid. That's true, Mike. We don't have to be afraid of other people's faiths. We can, listen, I'm a Christian. I believe that that's the way for me to get into heaven.
Right.
I'm not going to pretend I don't. But I'm also not telling people that this is what you need to do. If you want what I have and willing to do what I do, then that's the way that I'll show you that how I do it. But I'm not saying that's the only way that you can get sober. I'm not saying that's the only way that you can find peace and serenity. My very, very dear friend, Richard S., he's a very serious Jewish person, believes in Hashem, which is God. And he's doing great. I have other friends that are Muslim people that believe in Allah, and they're doing great. You know what you can't believe in, Mike? You can't believe in yourself as your higher power. That's not going to work. Because your higher power for yourself then tells you, you know what, tonight we're going to a strip club, we're going to get crazy, we're going to do drugs, and you know what, I'll forgive you in the evening afterwards because I'm your higher power. That's the only one that really can't be your higher power. For me, I've found my faith walk through Jesus Christ. That's what, that's the beginning and the end for me. That's changed my entire life. I was, where we're from, we don't even use the word Jesus Christ unless it's in a curse word. But my wife brought me to a church down here in South Florida after I had 7 years, and I relapsed. What does relapse mean? I went back to old behavior because I believed that alcohol was different than drugs. For me, I was sober 7 years, so from 24 to 31. That's a big chunk of someone's life. I bought a home, I got married, I had a business, I had cars. You know, when I was 24, I was in college and I got involved in drugs, and I thought it was more like a college thing. It turns out it's who I am in my being. And so when I drank, it actually brought me back to drugs, and then drugs brought me to a psychiatric hospital. The psychiatric hospital brought me to a halfway house, and my wife brought me to church, and here I am with you now 24 years later.
That's amazing. You know, we have a lot of similarities in our story. When I tell my story in 12-Step World, I'll say, college in one sentence, best 10 years of my life, and usually get a little chuckle out of that, But I graduated when I was 24.
Yeah.
You start when you're 18. I had a few psychiatric events when I was 21.
Yeah.
So, I totally identify with that. Then also, we met each other.
Yeah.
Well, we got to know each other better through Recovery Church. And
through Recovery
I was
Church.
in New Jersey last week, and a lot of people don't know what Recovery Church is outside of South Florida. You want to explain about Recovery Church a little bit?
Well, I'm new. As you know, Mike, I'm new to Recovery Church also. What I love about you and I spent the weekend together in North Carolina at the Recovery Church Conference, what I love about it is it really goes hand in hand with the 12-step programs. It's not telling you to leave the 12-step programs. Where every other program that I've been involved with in the last 24 years, whether it's church or recovery programs, a lot of them are telling you to come to us and only to us. What I love about Recovery Church is like, come to us for your spirituality, go to your home church that you go to on Sundays to get a deeper relationship with the community of that, and then go back to your 12-step meetings and get your recovery there and then bring it back to us. So I loved that idea. Now, I might not even be saying it right. As you know, I've only been in Recovery Church movement for the last 4 or 5 months. I'm brand new to it. But that's what was very exciting for me. So on Recovery Church South Florida, which is the campus that we have, where I'm the pastor of that specific campus, what we love to do is have a good time. I'm doctrinally, and I'm sure I'm not doing everything right in the Bible. I know I'm not following it perfectly. I'm probably not even teaching it perfectly. But what I am doing is enjoying studying the Bible, talking about the Bible. And for a guy like me who never would use the Bible in any productive way, to be able to go every night, we've been doing the Recovery Bible Study for 17 years. And now we've just been Recovery Church for the last 5 months. So in total, I've been doing 18 years of Recovery Church type of things. And then I was also the Celebrate Recovery Ministry leader down here, which is another separate program. And I've been that for the last 18 years, something like that. And the reason I bring those two things up is, where can we serve? You're serving with this project. It's incredible, right? You've asked me here, taking time out of your life. It's free and for fun. You're doing this to help people, because if we don't have that altruistic spirit, if we're not doing a Matthew 25, and I know your audience is not a Bible audience. I'm just going to quote some scripture, but I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay, Matthew 25 says that what you do for the least of these, you do for God. So if we're not constantly reaching out for the least of these, well, let me say this. If I'm not constantly reaching out for the least of these, then I'm reaching for stuff for myself. And in my life, I've abused steroids to the max. I've abused working out to the max. I've abused drugs to the max, sex to the max, alcohol to the max. And I would have gotten involved in gambling if I hadn't found recovery. Because Michael, when I was in treatment at 32 years old, sorry. I'm in treatment at 32 years old. My roommate's from Texas. Now, I'm an Italian Jew from New York, as you know, right? I've never even seen chewing tobacco, right? He's using chewing tobacco in the room. I go, what are you doing? I thought it was only for baseball fields. Right. And he's spitting in a cup inside treatment. I go, what are you doing? He says, oh, this can give you a buzz. I said, let me have a dip. By the time I got home to my wife, I was a chewing tobacco user, if you can imagine. I was getting dips of cope. I'm like going up to, hey, can you tell me about your freshest Copenhagen? You know what that tells me about myself? I can get addicted to anything. I never even met Copenhagen until I was 32 years old. At 33, I'm going to each 7-Eleven to find out what's the freshest Copenhagen is. That's what's in me. You know, the first time I looked at pornography when I was 12, and I didn't know it was pornography, I just thought it was Playboy books, I never put it down. I could never get out of it. There's nothing that I've ever done, Michael, apart from God, that I've ever been able to get out of without his help.
I love that. Yeah. And so as you're describing your journeys through addiction, like what we'll call in recovery community is the God-sized hole.
Yeah.
So like somebody with day one who's like, oh my God, Stevie, he's got 24 years sobriety, but he's talking my language. What do they do with day one with the God-sized hole? What would you recommend?
This is a simple thing. Do not follow your mind. Do not listen to yourself. The same mind that got you in trouble should not be the same mind that's getting you out of trouble. Get yourself a sponsor, a mentor. I think you do coaching, right? Isn't this part of your program? Can I see that flyer, the thing you're doing? It's a coaching program. Yeah, you need to find someone outside yourself. When it comes to recovery, what's incredible to me, Michael, if you're a sports person, obviously you're a sports person, right? Did you play professional sports, college sports? Well, you look like you look like a serious sports person. What was your sport? Football, I would imagine.
I like football.
Yeah. And you played football, right?
Yeah. Up until freshman year.
Okay,
But,
so
right.
I wasn't trying to, I'm saying
We're good.
you look like a doesn't he look like a football player? He looks like a football player. Well, you didn't teach yourself football. You had a coach. Your trade, you have a person that your alignment, you're on electric, you have a person that's teaching you. You go to this, you have when it comes to recovery, we want to recreate the wheel. We want to teach ourselves from other broken people in the rooms that have not always credible information. Listen, service keeps you sober. Meeting makers make it. All these are good ideas, and they all help. If you're not really working a serious program, whatever the program is, I follow the 12 steps. You follow the 12 steps. But I also know, Michael, that people that do smart recovery and other recovery programs, and they're also staying sober for themselves, okay? Now, I don't know much about those programs, but I do know, I've seen it, it's working in other people's lives. So I can't say that AA is the only way or NA is the only way, because it's not. There's many ways. There's ways through the church. There's different 12-step programs. There's different recovery programs.
Right.
I don't even think Smart Recovery is a 12-step program, but I think it's more of a thing where people go around and support each other. Whatever it is, it seems to be working in their lives. You know what's not working in my life? What I'm going to tell the newcomer? Get yourself a mentor. We call it in the 12-step programs a sponsor. And listen to what your sponsor says. And pray. Even if you don't have a belief in God, sometimes it's harder. But for me, the moment I heard Russell Spatz speaking from Miami, I knew that was the guy for me. That guy was going to tell me how it was. And then I have this tough Jewish man by the name of Jerry Bear, who's an incredible tough guy. I have all tough men in my life. I don't need anyone like me that's going to be able to lie to me. I need someone to tell me the truth. And so what I say to someone that's day one is, if you're going to go to the 12-step programs, let's just use AA and NA for an example, okay? As the blanket.
Yep.
Wherever that meeting is that you know that you can get to 4 or 5 times a week, look for someone inside those meetings. People ask me all the time, Michael. I'm sure they ask you too. They ask Peter M. They ask Russell S. They ask Pat. Oh, all the time. Can you be my sponsor? Where do you live? Ohio. It's better when you're new to get someone that sees you 2-3 times a week. Of course you can do online. Clancy I sponsored over 500 people at a time around the country. Of course you can. May God rest his soul. Of course you can do that. But if you're brand new, don't you want to see the mentor, the coach that you have on a weekly meeting? They see you talking to a newcomer, girl or guy, 13-stepping, and they come over and say, hey, listen, we don't do that. Right. They see you gossiping. They come over and say, hey, just want to let you know we don't do that. The speaker speaks, and they come over to you and say, hey, listen, do you know that we thank the speaker after the meeting? One of the things that's getting lost today, Michael, is that people don't want to be told what to do. But if they're not willing to be told what to do, who's going to tell them what to do? The drugs, the alcohol, the gambling, the pornography, the internet addiction. Michael, people can't go to meetings today without being on their phone half the time. You can't go to a doctor's office. You can't go to dinner. Did you ever been out to restaurants recently? I mean, you're from the Northeast. You see what's going on. You go to a restaurant, there's whole families that are not having conversations.
Not even communicating. They're all on the phone. Yeah.
I mean, we're in 2025, this is a crazy deal we're dealing with, right? Mm-hmm. So media like this can be used for good, but it also could be used for bad. And the reason I bring that up is one of the big addictions right now, and then I'll stop. One of the big addictions right now is media addiction, Instagram addiction. You know, I don't know the names exactly.
Yeah.
But I do know that a lot of the people are coming into the treatment centers, they can't put down their phone.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah. I see it. I have it at times too myself, you know what I'm saying? One thing, when you're talking about answering the call is what I really heard when you said you opened JC's Recovery, because you're bringing people to treatment, but they're not being spiritually fed. And then, okay, Recovery Church, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
There's another part of the call. So how does it feel to be answering the call now with time and sobriety? What does it look like?
It's what a great question. Thank you so much. You know what I love is that God has positioned me to be around great men like yourself, like Mitch, like Pastor Phil, you know, like Pastor Dan, all these men from the Recovery Church that I had not known. And to be honest with you, till this day, I don't know where the introduction was for me to meet them. Junior, right? I didn't even know these guys knew me. But because I've been in the trenches a long time in terms of faith-based recovery, my name is out there, which I did not know. And so they asked me to come speak for them. And then it was an instant love affair on terms of what they're doing and what we're doing, right? And collaborating. And so when you answer the call, that means you have to have an ear to God. The 11th step, if you follow the 12 steps, I'm not saying everyone does, but it says sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. How can we improve our conscious contact if we haven't established a contact with God? Before we got on today, you and I prayed, right? I think the three of us prayed. At least that's what I believe that we prayed. And when we prayed, we were asking God to be with us during this time. You know, people make such a big deal today about prayer. You know, I went to a meeting recently. I'm not going to say which fellowship it was, but I went to a meeting in New York, and they had no prayer. No, you know how the term is prayer to prayer? They had no prayer to prayer. And I said to the guy afterwards, I said, did you guys forget something? And he goes, no, we didn't forget that. I said, what about the prayer in the beginning, the prayer in the end? He goes, no, we don't pray in this meeting. So you used to pray to the porcelain god, which is the toilet bowl. You used to pray to, you know, Tony at the end of the corner. You pray to the casinos in Atlantic City. You've been pray to all these other things, but now you won't pray.
Right.
And I hope I never get that way, Michael. I know I won't, because the Lord would call me home before that ever happened, before I started to abandon him.
I've talked about that on a past podcast. It's scary to me. They're like, well, we don't want to scare away the newcomer. And now, like fentanyl, they call it Fetty Wap. Guys have been Narcan multiple times. So here's a drug that can kill not only you, but the person touching it that's trying to help you.
Wow. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but we can't talk about God or Jesus or whatever, a higher power somebody else recognize, and we're going to scare them away.
Listen, Michael, I'm so refreshed that in South Florida and also in places in the Northeast that we can say the truth. Yep. And we don't, and you know, people say that, well, that's hate speech. No, that's not hate speech. Telling the truth is not hate speech. It's true speech. Okay. If I'm pretending that I have all the answers and I'm not going to the one that is, then I've already cut myself off from the truth, and then the truth cannot set me free. Right? So for me, it's so refreshing to be able to say, first of all, I do have a higher power, Michael. You know, all the people say, I do have a higher power. Her name is Sandy. It's my wife. She tells me exactly what to do. I'm now on a 13-pillow system in my house, and I'm a one-pillow guy. I don't know. You're not married right now, right? So you're probably a 1 to 2 pillow type of person right on your bed. No matter how big, we're guys, right? 1 to 2 pillow. My wife's got me on a 13-pillow system. That's 6 on this side, 6 on this side, and 1 in the middle. That's not my choice. My higher powers told me that if you want to sleep in this bed, that's the way you're going to make it. But if I want to stay sober, if I want to stay clean, if I want to have a life beyond my wildest dreams, I better have something more powerful than a higher power. I want to go to the highest power. I didn't go to New York City to Washington Heights and go to, yo, Julio, give me the stuff that nobody wants. Give me the stuff that doesn't work anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? I said to him, listen, I want the stuff that was just off a brick like an hour ago.
Right.
I want the stuff that is gonna send me, and that's the Lord. That's God for me. Mm-hmm. That's God for us. That's the highest power. And then there's a lot of other things down here that are higher powers. You and me together right now, this is a higher power than I was before I came in. Mm-hmm. And we have the Holy Spirit here. We have God here. We have the fellowship of the rooms here. That's a higher power. Mm-hmm. Okay. And while we're on the subject of God, let's not forget that if a person is listening today and they're not a God person, God can be in three forms at any time. Mm-hmm. You can have a group of drunks, that we like to say, or a group of addicts, right? That's the God of a group of drunks. You can have the AA or NA room or the whatever fellowship you're in. That could be your power for right now. You want to drink, you call up that power. It could be like that. It could be good orderly direction, GOD. That could be your sponsor, your mentor, your coach, right? Yep. That's good orderly direction. And then, of course, is the creator of the universe, GOD. When you're new, you may not have the creator of the universe. You may be so upset about your life. You may have not wanted to speak to the creator of the universe for the entire time you've been here. Or you can't relate to if there is one. Mm-hmm. So you use those other two. Because everybody knows that two people are stronger than one person. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone knows that someone that's been clean for 22 years or so has more information than the person that's clean 22 days. So you can use that group of drunks, or you could use that good orderly direction.
Yeah, I love, too, the GOD, the gift of desperation.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're at your bottom, and, I can't do this no more. In my story, I was in the backwoods in North Carolina. I was like, oh, man, I'm done. I'm done. I need help.
Yeah.
And then that peace came over me.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to articulate, but once you have that experience where the highest power touches you, your life is completely different. So, for me, Gideon Bible kept opening the same verse, which is in Luke, about the Pharisee and the publican. He who humbles himself will be exalted, and he who exalts himself will be humbled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
I've had to receive that many times in my life.
Yeah. So
the humbling.
What's a favorite Bible verse to you, and why is it special to you? What would you say?
Michael, it's so important for us to have, if you're a believer, say you're not a believer and you're a person in recovery, you need to have some stuff that's weapons. You need to have some stuff that's armor. Mm-hmm. Because first of all, I like to tell people your clean date or your sobriety date needs to be one of the first verses you have in your life. Before we get into the Bible, it needs to be one of your first verses. My name is Stevie B, Stevie B Boyarsky, right? That's my name and my last name, Stevie B Boyarsky. I'm not anonymous in the rooms. I want people to know how to get me if they need to. Mm-hmm. And from that, I have a sobriety date or a clean date. And this time it's January 3rd, 2002. Mm-hmm. I need to be able to have that verse on the top. I'm Stevie B. I'm a recovering addict. I'm a recovering alcoholic. My sobriety date is January 3rd, 2002. Because if I don't have that, then all the other verses don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people get upset when I say that. Right. But my first sobriety date, my first clean date was February 7th of 1993. And 6 years later, I forgot that. And no matter how much God I thought I had, when I was in the psychiatric floor with a robe, with a gown, not a robe, I'm sorry, with a hospital gown that didn't fit in the back.
Yep.
In paper slippers because I was on suicide watch.
Yes, sir.
I wish I would have remembered the verse February 7th, 1993, but I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. So I didn't have anything that now. Now today, I have Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through God who strengthens me.
Right.
Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge God, and he will direct your path.
Okay.
Right? Jeremiah 29:11.
There it is.
Right? He has plans to prosper me, not to harm me. Plans for hope and a future for me. Joshua 24:15. As for me and my house, I choose to serve the Lord. Okay. Joshua 1:9. No fear. I got verses around me because you know why, Michael? I'm a multiple personality disordered person. Right? So sometimes I want to act out in lust. Then I have a verse right there from Book of Job which says, I've made a covenant with my eyes only to look at the beauty of my wife and not other women because I'm in the gym. Mm-hmm. When you're in the gym,
yeah,
that's warfare in the gym.
Right.
Right? That's serious business with your eyes. So I got that verse for that. Then I have another verse. Say I wanted to take a drink. Be sober-minded. Put your thoughts on things above, not on here. So I have some key verses. I don't always know where they are exactly. If you gave me some feedback right now that I didn't like, my verse would be my verse would be wisdom comes in a multitude of counsel.
Right.
Be quick to see where people are right. Okay? And so I have key verses. When I want to get angry and I want to shout at someone in the South Florida traffic, I remember be quick to listen.
Right.
Slow to speak, slow to anger, the book of James. When I want to act like a child and act out here and say, don't you know who I am? Oh, when we were children, we acted like children. But when we became adults, we put away our childish things. When I want to fire at my wife and say, don't you understand? I don't understand why you don't understand me. I don't understand why you're not doing this. Oh, then I got 1 Corinthians 13, Michael. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It does not keep a record of wrongdoings. It is not jealous. It does not envy. Wow. I'm not alone in this deal. People think the Bible is to make them not have fun. The Bible helps me to know when I'm going to get off the guardrails. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I want to have sex with multiple people. People are like, oh my God, did that guy just say that? Yeah, I said that. Because I am a person that's a fiend. And the Bible tells me, love God with all my heart, body, mind, soul, and strength. And love my neighbor as I have myself. My wife is one of those neighbors. Mm-hmm. I've made a covenant with my eyes with her. I've never cheated on her in the whole 25 years we've been together. And I remind myself, doesn't matter what I want. Children do what they want. Adults do what they need to do. And I'm not afraid to say that I still have earthly desires. I'm not afraid to say it. Having a thought, it doesn't mean you're acting out on it.
Right. Grown man talking there. I love that. And I love how you bring the passion into the Bible verses too. So like, there's famous guys in coaching, like they talk about incantations, and affirmations.
Yeah.
So I know you're very familiar with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
I am. Yeah. What you tell yourself is true. Okay? And if you tell yourself you're a loser, you're a loser. Mm-hmm. And if you tell yourself you're a winner, you'll be a winner.
Mm-hmm. So are there any affirmations on top of what you just shared?
Well, first of all, I want to clear up that I'm not looking to have sex with multiple partners. I was overstretching that.
We'll edit that out.
Yeah. No, you don't even have to edit it out. No, don't edit it out. Okay. But I do want to say that, you know, there's a part of me that always is not satisfied, even with the beauty of my amazing wife. And as long as I'm looking at God, right, and looking at the beauty of my wife, and a gratitude list. You want to talk about an affirmation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I'm not going to act out on the sinful natures of my flesh. An affirmation, I'm grateful to be here with you today. I'm grateful that I got to take my son to school today. I'm grateful that I have a beautiful wife today that I love so much, who's a godly woman that I can trust, that I have no envy, jealousy of her. I don't even know. She got in a car with a male Uber driver this morning because she's not driving right now. I had no worries about her. Right. She's a woman of God. I'm so grateful for that. I always dated women in the past. I'm not saying every woman, but a lot of women in the past, I would have to be checking their phones. Well, you know, obviously we didn't have phones like that, but, you know, checking their beepers, you know, and different things like that. And I don't have to do that with my wife. I'm grateful for the gift of sobriety today. I'm grateful that I'm a member of Lighthouse Community Church, which is my home church. I'm a grateful member of the Recovery Church of South Florida. I'm grateful to be a member of the Recovery Church movement. Right? I'm grateful that I get to speak around the country about him.
Right.
I mean, I'm a junkie, one-eyed crack addict, peeping Tom one-eyed crack addict, peeping Tom. You know how hard it is, Michael, to be a one-eyed peeping Tom? That's people don't get how hard that is.
Got them laughing.
Yeah, people don't get it. A peeping Tom, in definition, you need to have one eye on the subject and one eye looking out so you don't get caught. I'm a one-eyed peeping Tom, recovering crack addict. So that's a big deal. That a guy like me gets to speak around the world about what God has done for them. That the state of Florida called my wife up and said, a man like you cannot adopt a baby in the state of Florida. A man like your husband will never be able to adopt in the state of Florida. He said that to my wife, and we had just lost our baby.
Right.
And Joe called up and said, you cannot adopt in the state of Florida because of your husband's record. And God undid that and brought us the most beautiful baby boy from near California. And we drove back. We flew back with him, and there was people from the 12-step programs on our lawn that said, "Welcome home, Joshua."
Wow.
And he, yesterday he was in football, and he's a beautiful boy today. And he's not really a God boy. I mean, even though we pray every day and we talk about God, he hasn't really grown into that yet. But
he's got that name. That's
Joshua,
a big name.
Joshua 24. As a matter of fact, his birth mother said, "Why do you want to name him Joshua?" And we said, Joshua 24:15. As for me and my house, we choose to serve the Lord.
Amen.
And she said, "Well, I'm not religious." And we said, "Well, it just means that Joshua's going to grow up in a godly home," and he has.
Right.
I'm a guy that used to curse every other word out of my mouth. I mean, you're from the Northeast. Where exactly? Jersey. Okay, so Jersey, New York is. You can't order, where we're from, you can't order a pizza. If you go to a pizza parlor where you're from or I'm from and go, "Excuse me, sir, may I have a slice of pizza?" They just move on to the next person. They don't even, they would just ignore you, right? So cursing for us was not cursing. It's just the way we talk. This is effing unbelievable. Shut the effing up door. You got to be effing kidding me. That's just the way we talk. Am I right, Michael? Am I making a joke? Am I being serious?
You're 100% serious. Yeah.
Who the F do you think? I mean, everything had an F vernacular. Am I right?
Yes.
When I gave myself to God, Joshua 24:15, as for me and my house, I choose to serve the Lord. He took that from me. Mm-hmm. My son, in 14 years, now I've cursed, but in 14 years, he's heard that maybe 5 times, and the F curse maybe twice, maybe once.
It's powerful.
I used to curse that every hour that amount of time.
Right.
See, with God, all things are possible. Mm-hmm. You know what I would tell the newcomer? Whether you believe in God or not, pretend, or at least pretend that you want to believe in it, and watch what happens. Watch what happens believing in God.
Right. That's what one of
not pretend. That's the wrong word. Act as if. Mm-hmm. That's the wrong word.
One of my mentors, he says, and it's biblical based, and he's like, it was said, "Love as I've loved you." So a lot of people, God, and they think about all these different things. And my mentor, he says, use the word love. Just use love.
Perfect.
That, and you can work.
Well, God
with
is
that.
love.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, I don't believe in God. Okay, so believe in love.
Yeah.
Good.
And show love, and then you see them, and you watch.
But at 2:00 in the morning, Michael, how do they call out? How do they call out to love?
On their knees praying, I would think.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so because Michael, as a recovery pastor, I've had to do like over 30 funerals.
Real talk.
The first, what's that?
Real talk there. Yeah.
The first funeral that I did, may God rest his soul, Drew Swan, he's passed away now, I can use his name, and he was 24. And it was a big memorial up in Calvary Chapel, and I was his sponsor. I was his grand sponsor, and his parents asked me to do it. And I had never done a memorial before. Mm-hmm. And I was petrified. There was hundreds of young people.
Right.
And there was a real pastor there. I wasn't a pastor. Just a guy from the 12-step rooms.
Right.
And that loved God. And I said, "Pastor, this is what you do." And he looked over at me. His name is Paul. He says, "No, this is what you do now."
Right.
And I'm not saying he was speaking prophetically, but that was the beginning of about 30 memorials for young people since then. Maybe more, Michael. Maybe 50.
Yeah.
75. And that's only 2013. That's just 12 years ago. It's like 5 a year.
Right.
And so the reason I bring that up is I'm either going to serve God or I'm going to serve myself to the newcomer. That's what I would say to them.
Right.
And if you don't know who God is, just, you know what I tell people? I tell them, I know you don't believe in God, but just in case, ask him to reveal himself to you. I can't tell you how many people come to me like a year later and go, "You're not going to believe this, Stevie B, I'm a God guy." Because he's going to show up. He's the creator of the universe. He created us so that we can be in a relationship with him. You asked me about some of the other practices of JC. I'm sorry that I skirted over it. One of the things we do there that you and I do together, that I had the blessing of doing with you in North Carolina, is cold plunging, which I was working on this morning before I came here. My cold plunge broke.
Uh-oh.
And it's okay because I go to a place locally called The Space. Did you come there with me?
I did the breath work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I really believe in breath work. I really believe in cold plunging. I really believe in meditation. And to me, it's all related. Because when I'm in that cold water and I want to get out immediately, you remember your first response was to get out, right?
Yep.
But then what did you do? You didn't. And when you don't, in that moment, you go into meditation. You go into meditation because it's either that or freeze to death. You know, in your mind, you're not going to really freeze to death in 45-degree water. But in your mind, you're saying, well, at least I'm saying, dear God, keep me in this. I can do this. I can do all things through you that strengthens me. And then I start to meditate. I get and so that's been a great practice for me, the cold plunging. The breath work brings me into a deeper relationship with God because it turns off my analytical mind and allows my spiritual mind to take over. Did that happen to you at all when you did the breath work?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah. A lot of my breath work, I try to do a lot of nasal breathing
Okay.
and bringing into the diaphragm.
Okay.
And then, as I said earlier, I can feel the peace. As of recently, I've just been seeking peace.
Yeah.
I use that as a mantra, and I can feel it in my chest the way I did when, God came down and touched me in North Carolina 26 years ago, where this incredible amount of peace comes over me like that. And
What's the practice? What are you doing? Give me an example.
Like, I use Jesus as my base.
Okay.
Well,
that's a good base.
Yeah, it's a great
It's a good way to
base.
go.
Yeah. So
but what are you doing? What are you saying?
You're just
bringing him in.
Bringing
him in.
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
bringing them in because I do a lot of holistic practices. I've done some. I went out to Utah on an
Great.
NLP retreat, and they did some sound bowl stuff. And I felt like I was on acid. I've never been on acid, but and I just always use Jesus as my base.
Yeah.
I'm here to serve you.
When you say it, you mean an out of body experience, or you're able to. The mind was able to quiet enough that you were able to leave the realms of here, right?
I wouldn't say I have, like, they call it OBE. I have had them, but not in those. I just got very silent.
Okay.
And I was in tune with my heart, and I was not thinking about anything. I was just completely in flow.
Yeah. The spirit took over. That's great.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried just some box breathing? Some just 3, 4, 3.
What
then hold.
What I've heard, the longer exhale, like stimulates the vagus nerve better.
Yeah.
So then you're gonna experience peace a lot better.
I use breathing for everything.
Yeah.
I was just in the dentist the other day, and she was hitting some nerves, and I was just in. She goes, "Are you all right?" I wasn't even there. I was doing the whole thing like this. Right there. I'm already there. Yeah. Now, for me in breath work, when I do extended breath work, in and out breathing, in and out, for me with the mouth, in through the mouth, out with the mouth, in with the mouth, for 2 to 3, 4, 5 minutes. For me, my goal is to see God. Now, not God like I'm seeing you. There's a silhouette of God's face. And it's happened to me. I've seen God and I've gotten messages. I mean, at least that's what I perceive.
Right.
Okay, I'm not saying that, when I meet him, you'd be like, that whole time you thought you were seeing me, it was just oxygen, too much oxygen. But whatever it was an incredible piece. I started crying. It was so beautiful. Meditation, Michael, solitude prayer and meditation is so underrated in this instant society. We believe the drive-through has to be 2 seconds. The food has to be 2 seconds. This has to be 2 seconds. Meditation is a time for us to unplug from this insane world. Before the Bible says that many times Jesus got up early in the morning. The disciples got up early in the morning, and in the still of the morning, and they were able to unplug.
You're talking my language, man. I get up 4 a.m. I've meditated
so
every day
for
the past 20 years.
Wow, so
Yeah. I've geeked on it, man. I've got the Heart Math Institute, so you do the heart resonance.
I don't know what that is. Explain that.
So your heart is actually, think about it, when they have the picture of a baby, it's never the mind, it's the heartbeat.
Sure.
So the heartbeat is the center of our body.
Okay.
And then the Heart Math Institute, it measures the resonance from your brain into your heart. So you turn off the thinking mind, as you're talking earlier, and you let the love out, and the heart runs the show.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So then it takes the energy center of the body. So
how do we find out about that?
So think about it. When we were
No, I'm
kids,
saying how does someone find out how to do
Heart
that?
Math Institute. Joe Dispenza has some great content.
Oh, Joe Dispenza, yeah,
Joe Dispenza has
sure,
some great content about
sure.
that. He talks
Absolutely.
about the Kundalini awakening.
Yeah,
about
yeah,
your
yeah,
chakra.
yeah. Well, some of the as a Christian, some of the Joe Dispenza stuff is not, it's out there for me.
Right.
I have his books, but I have to also be discerning for me.
Sure.
I don't want to ever do the power of the mind so much. Not saying Joe, but I'm saying me, that I have the power so that I can have a drink again. That I have the power so much that I don't need to go to meetings again.
Right.
That I have the power so much that I don't need to follow all these different things because the doctors told me you'll always be on medication.
Yeah, it's not an 11-step meeting, a program. People 11-step themselves out the room. Like I'll mess around with guys like, bro, I'm not going to sit in a crystal cave and meditate all day. I got to do number 12, and I got to get on the fire line to help people.
Yeah, faith without works is dead.
That's why we're doing this.
Yeah,
bro.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm coming alongside. I agree with you, right? And so I have to be careful with myself that I don't get too deep.
Yep.
And I become so heavenly minded that I'm no earthly good.
Yep.
Because that verse that I just gave you, that faith without works is dead, is a serious verse for me. Because I would much rather be in meditation for 8 hours.
Right.
But then who's gonna do the work in the fields?
Yep. Yeah, we got to be soldiers out there, bro.
Yeah. What else you got for me? This is so exciting.
Yeah. So we talk about neurolinguistic. Anyway, two-way prayer. I know that was kind of any experience with that?
Listen, I love two-way prayer.
Okay.
But Michael, I don't do it enough.
Okay.
The times I've gotten the pen out and wrote a letter to God and then waited for him to write back to me, in my opinion, that's what he was doing, have been monumental. But because last time that I did it had to do with my birth father.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you remember, my last name is Boyarsky because my dad, may God rest his soul, just an amazing dad, adopted me when I was 1. And he was the most incredible man, died with 28 years of sobriety,
Nice.
A hero. He fought on Pork Chop Hill in Korea. And he's just an incredible man. But that wasn't my birth father, and I didn't know it. My birth father died when I was 5 weeks. He died of cancer.
Okay.
And his name is Steven Celentano, so I'm actually Steven Celentano Jr., I believe.
Right.
So when I was writing the letter, there was a lot of stuff that came up about him that I didn't know about. That I didn't know was in there. Because I had such a great dad that adopted me. I don't have this real yearning that I didn't think to talk about my birth father because he was gone by the time I was 5 weeks.
Right.
So I never I did. So when I was writing the letter to God and I was talking to him, a lot of stuff came out about that and it was very emotional for me. So I highly recommend two-way prayer. Highly, you write and see what God says to you. But I don't do it enough.
Yeah. I've done some similar work to that. So I've done shadow work where you kind of talk to the inner child. So for me, I had my first manic episode was when I was 21 years old. And so when I did the shadow work, I wrote letters from, at the time I was like 48, 47. And I wrote letters from the 47-year-old to the 21-year-old kid. And it kind of healed it.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I totally identify with that. My father was a child that was born out of wedlock. And Anthony Dorado, my grandfather, is not my father's biological father, but he raised us.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I identify with that. And I appreciate
And you love Anthony.
Oh, my God. Tony
So,
Boy. The guy.
people say, well, that's not your birth father. Well, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
That's my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blood is one thing, and that's great. There's genetic stuff to come to that, but there's a lot of genetic dads that suck.
Yeah.
I had an amazing dad that adopted me, and as you know, we got to adopt our son.
Yep.
So I'm adopted, and I got to adopt Joshua. So it's carrying that on, and I hope he feels the same way about me someday.
Yeah, and to bring it back to the rooms, like that's what we do with this altruism. So like my dad passed away, I would never call somebody else my father, but I had these crazy uncles in the rooms that raised me. Like, kid, you're doing this wrong.
Right.
Do it this way.
Yeah,
and now,
that's the
here we are those
mentorship.
guys. Now we're those guys. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I hope so. I hope we are.
Yeah.
It's a weird age, Michael, that a lot of the new people don't want to take feedback.
Yep.
They want to take it up to a point. There's so much information out there that people question everything. The other day, a police officer called my house, right? Because I had put in a call. I was worried about something, and he called my house, and then he said to me, "Come outside." but he didn't really identify himself. Like he was a new guy. And because another person got on the phone and said, I apologize, he was a new guy. And he just said to me, come outside. I said, who is this? He said, this is the police. You know what I said to him? How do I know that?
Right.
I mean, what, you just call my house and then you just call my cell phone and just tell me you're the police? I don't know you're the police. That's this modern era. So sponsors are saying, go an hour early, stack the chairs when you at the end, thank the people at the end, and some of the new people are like, why? I don't have to listen to that.
It's crazy.
That doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I can Instagram that. You know what I'm saying? So we have to remember that wisdom comes in a multitude of counsel.
So we got about 5 minutes left.
Man, I wish we had 2 hours.
Yeah, bro.
This is incredible.
So what's your charge for the new person in the community? Because I get a lot of new people watching, and there's guys with time. But again, we're serving.
Get a home group, whatever fellowship you're in. Get a home group. You're in Smart Recovery, stick to that same meeting every week.
Yep.
You're in AA, stick to that same meeting. Me, I go to 6 meetings a week, and I'll be 24 years, God willing, January 3rd. I go to 6 meetings a week.
Yep.
Okay, I need them. You know why? I have 6 different personalities. So each one of those days. All right. People say I'm bipolar. I'm quadro. I have so many different poles you don't even want to know. I got a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday, and I go to church on Sunday. Okay, that's 6. That's 6 reunions a week. I don't speak on Sundays.
Right.
And I work on Saturdays in the recovery field at JC's. This week we're going to get to baptize a bunch of new clients, which that would be beautiful. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. So my charge to people is get a home group. In that home group, find yourself a sponsor, or at least in one of your groups. Right. Whatever program you're in. My dad was in GA. They didn't have a big book. He was in Gamblers Anonymous. May God rest his soul.
So was my father.
Yeah, 27 years recovered from gambling. And they had this other book. He had a sponsor in that group. He had a home group. My mother still goes, all these years later, 35, 40 years later, my mom's still going to some of those Gam-Anon groups, which is the GA Al-Anon meetings. My wife still goes to Al-Anon. My wife and I have had the blessing of speaking around the country where I'm the 12-step speaker and she's the 12-step family speaker.
Nice.
So my charge to them is get a home group, get a sponsor, stick to the meetings, don't follow your own rules. Whatever program you're in, follow the program of those rules.
Right.
Follow the rules of that program.
All right. And then what's the charge for the guy with like a year to 5 years that had an experience with the steps?
Well, he needs that. Listen, the guy that's stale needs to get with it. You know what one of the founders said, that for the people that don't go to meetings and they're not doing the deal, he said, I feel sorry for them.
Yep.
Okay? So I'm going to end with this. Okay? There's a buffet, right? And the buffet has all different types of food on it. And you could choose anything you want, Michael. You can go up to the buffet and you can choose a crouton. It's on the buffet.
Right.
You could take the crouton, you could come back to your plate, you can have your knife, you can have your fork, you can be eating your crouton. People say, how you doing? You're hanging in there. You're eating your and you're eating food. It's on the buffet. And you think you're living life. Right. And then there's other people that have a relationship with God and they're working the steps. They're doing service. Let's take the steps out for a second. Because I'm not even sure how much steps my dad did. But he was involved in service all the time. Okay? All the time. You have a life of service. For me, I work the steps. For you, but there's other programs that don't. You have a life of service. And now you're in the buffet and you're eating filet mignon and you're eating cracked crab and you're eating roast duck and you're still eating food, but you're enjoying the process. Why would you want to change anything if you're still miserable? And there's a lot of people in 12-step programs that are miserable. You see them.
Facts.
They have those squishy faces. Yeah. They have the potato faces. You look over, how long? 55 years, stupid. You know, why would you want to even be clean 55 years if you're talking like that? I have one eye. That's why I look like a pirate. These guys look like pirate because they're eating croutons for 55 years.
What about, we got a minute here too. What about somebody with mental health challenges and dual diagnosis? What?
A lot of that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be honest. You know, I'll be honest. You and I are challenged with that. Okay? We're dual diagnosed. Let me say, I am.
I am too.
Okay, you shared that with me earlier on. We're dual diagnosed. I would be on multiple medications because that's what they said that I needed to be on. If it wasn't the cold plunge, exercise, meditation, God, church, sponsorship, the program, and a lot of service work.
Yep.
Okay, right now I'm hurt and I haven't been in the gym in a little while, and I can see that my mental illness is coming back a little bit. Okay, if you're on medication from the doctor, stay on the medication. I didn't get off my medication until I was 4 years, and I did it with doctor, and we took one at a time out of my repertoire, and I was able to, with all the things that I just said to you. Cold plunge just happened in the last 2 years. Forget about the cold plunge. But all the things, exercise, meditation, yoga, all the things I was doing, I was able to stay off the meditation with the Lord, medication with the Lord. Okay. Second of all, mental illness is not your fault. Mental illness is not your fault. Mental illness is not your fault. Okay. God has a plan. Some of the most greatest people of all time are on the spectrum. Okay. I'm not going to mention some of them today because they have bad reputations today, but there's a lot of people that have discovered things that we're driving, have done things that we're flying, have discovered arithmetic things that we're reading. They were all on the spectrum. So your mental illness, your HIV does not have to, all different, two different categories, of course, does not have to define you. This should not define you. You know what defines you? I'm going to leave you with this, my friend. You want to be a story? There's plenty of stories. At JC's, we have a whole wall of stories. That went past this year. That went past that year. That went past that year. And they're sad stories. Drew Swan's story turned out to be great because his dad and mom started a program called Fentanyl Fathers. And a couple weeks ago, Donald Trump had a picture of Drew Swan. He was holding up for the fentanyl awareness. And that story turned out to be great.
Wow.
But they would still rather have their son back. Or you have the choice of being a testimony. A testimony is so much better than a story. That means you stood the test, and now you're still here to tell people about it. That's a testimony. What just happened this week with the murder, his life was a testimony. I don't care how you feel about him politically. Doesn't matter to me. This is a man that believed in what he said and said what he believed and said what he meaned and didn't say it mean, in my opinion. And they killed him for it. But his legacy is going to live on. Testimonies and legacy live on. Stories die quickly.
Amen.
Amen.
Stevie B.
What a blessing it's been to be in here with you, and I thank you for that. I thank you for your mission. I thank you for allowing me to talk about JC Recovery. That was very, very kind of you. And I pray that as we continue to co-labor together with the Recovery Church and all the things that we do, that we'll be able to help many more people. Because it's not we're already. I'm not saying we're good because it's one day at a time, but we've already received the blessings. Now it's time for us to give back the blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
God
Appreciate
bless you.
You.
You too.